We do a lot of work with B2B companies, and those are kind of the folks that generate leads. There's a longer sales cycle because there are a lot more stakeholders involved, and you would expect that those would take a hit during this time. And they did. Things slowed down a bit when everybody shifted to remote. I think there are a lot of people who, unlike myself, have been working at home for 8+ years, so I know what work from home feels like. I think a lot of people really needed to take it the time and shift and figure out how their teams work, but we've been doing it now for a month. And a lot of those lower funnel performance campaigns for some of those B2B folks that you wouldn't expect to perform well still are. And if anything, there are some areas where the sales cycle from lead to close has actually sped up quite a bit, because that's just, for whatever reason, they either really need to get a solution in place, or maybe they just realized that they were having too many meetings, not enough emails, something like that. And things are moving along quite a bit quicker than they have been.
Are you able to be a bit more specific about what you're seeing that's performing really well without revealing client confidential information?
Yeah, so a lot of it ends up being SaaS solutions, so software as a service. People trying to find a software for their business or a solution, something like that, whether it ends up being used by their customers or by their employees. So lots of different SaaS solutions we have on the docket right now.
Yeah, so people with immediate needs that are trying to solve problems around B2B. So is there a big distinction, Amy or Michelle, between B2B and B2C in this area? I mean, are the B2B performance campaigns working, but B2C maybe not as much, or is that incorrect?
For me, it has really depended on how they can do business and if they're able to do business without being in person. So like education clients, we've had a couple education clients that have shifted to kind of doing things online, at least for now. So you can go ahead and you can apply and you can know that the first semester is going to be online no matter what. And so that hasn't really slowed down at all. In fact, that's actually picked up a lot. And I think that could be potentially people looking for new opportunities if they're out of work right now. People potentially looking for ways to secure a better future while they have a little bit of downtime. So that's done really well. And then I have a couple B2C clients that, without saying too much, they have to go somewhere in order for the business exchange to happen. However, that person that they will deal with will be behind a glass wall. They'll have everything so that it's completely touchless. And so we've messaged that in ads. And when we messaged that in ads, we saw a major pickup in the way that it performed. So it's almost like if they can get that certainty that they can continue to do what they need to do without being in contact with somebody else, then they're still interested. But in a lot of cases, similar to what was mentioned earlier, where we have folks that are either working with different distributors or, for instance, one of my clients, they work with different auto dealers in different locations, and they don't necessarily know which of those locations are still open and which ones aren't. So they're trying not to spend very much because they just really can't guarantee that the places that they're sending those people to have availability or are even open right now. And then I also work with a couple residential companies, and those are still really doing pretty well as far as interest goes, and people are still filling out lead forms. However, they're saying when people are reaching out to them, they're saying, hey, I want to get on your books, but I don't want to get on your books for like the immediate future. I want to schedule something out. They don't want somebody in their house right now. So it seems like there's still demand there. And some of that also kind of depends on where that person is right now in their life. So like for people that are spending a lot of time in their house and are realizing that there's something uncomfortable about their house, they're starting to think about making those plans for how they can change that comfort factor, but they don't want somebody in their house right now. And then similarly, like for where somebody is with their career right now, or if they're out of work, they're trying to make plans for how they can change that in the future, because some people do have a little bit of extra time on their hands right now, so they can start to make those plans. But I would say on the B2C side, even though those leads are coming in, they're not necessarily as warm of leads as what we would typically see where somebody's ready to do something right now. On the B2B side, we saw the same slowdown that Michelle mentioned when everybody kind of first started to shelter in place. It was like really right around like March 15th timeframe. We saw quite a bit of slowdown. And then we started to see things pick up. And what we really saw was that we didn't get as many tire kickers. So the leads that we did get seemed to be much more intent on moving forward. So it's actually been kind of good in that way, but we have seen a little bit of a decrease in search volume on the B2B side. So we're getting less volume, but the leads that we are getting seem to be warmer leads. And on the D2C side, it's the opposite.
And
More
Amy,
volume. Go ahead. Go ahead, Chris.
So I was just going to ask a question. Amy, do you see a regional bias in that data, or consumers or B2B leads behaving differently depending what part of the country they're in, where there might be a different narrative in that region about the shutdown?
Yes, yeah, we definitely have, not so much on the B2B side, but definitely on the D2C side. And there's definitely certain areas in like the residential types of businesses that people are much more firm on not wanting somebody in their house right now. And that depends both on kind of how bad things are in that region, but also demographics of that region, because regions that tend to have kind of elderly populations, like they're not having people in their house right now, which is for the better.